Your attitude controls everything, even when you don't realize it. It decides how you show up, how you talk to yourself, how you handle stress, and how you deal with people. A bad attitude makes the day feel heavier. A strong one helps you move forward even when things go wrong. Most people never pay attention to it. They blame their situation. They wait for something outside to change. But the truth is, if your attitude doesn't change, nothing else will. This audiobook is about getting real with yourself. It's about taking back control of your mindset so you stop reacting and start leading your life. You're going to learn how to fix the way you think before it ruins your progress. You'll see what's been holding you back, and you'll learn how to build a stronger, clearer, and more focused mind every single day. You don't need perfect days to grow. You need the right attitude. And that starts right now. Chapter 1. Decide to think better before your day begins. You want to change your life? Start by changing how you think before your day even begins. It's one of the simplest things to do, but it's also one of the most powerful. Because your thoughts shape your actions, and your actions shape your results. Every morning gives you a choice. You can wake up and fall into the same old thoughts you had yesterday, the doubt, the worry, the frustration. Or you can take charge. You can wake up and decide, today I will think better. You don't need anything fancy to do this. You don't need a new book or another motivational video. What you need is a decision. A firm one. A real one. A decision that says, I'm tired of letting the day push me around. I'm going to take control of how I think, right from the beginning. That's where your strength begins. That's where your attitude starts to shift. And once you shift your attitude, you shift your entire life. Now, here's the truth. Most people don't even realize that their mornings are running on autopilot. They get up, they check their phone, they complain about how tired they are, and they start thinking about all the problems waiting for them. They're already behind, and the day hasn't even started yet. They're not thinking, they're reacting. That kind of mindset doesn't build a strong life. That kind of mindset builds stress. It builds anxiety. It builds frustration. You can't allow that to be your routine anymore. You've got to build a new pattern. You've got to make a clear decision that before your day begins, your thinking will already be in the right place. You've got to wake up and say to yourself, no matter what happens today, I'm going to face it with strength. I'm going to face it with clarity. I'm going to stay focused on what matters. That's not just wishful thinking. That's attitude. You see, attitude isn't something you show once the day is halfway over. It's something you start with. It's not a reaction to the world. It's a decision about how you want to show up in it. And most people forget that. They think attitude is something that comes after success. No, it's what creates success. It's what keeps you going when things get hard. It's what helps you find answers when most people stop looking. But you've got to start building that mindset before your feet even hit the floor. When I say decide to think better, I mean really decide. Not for a moment, not for a few minutes, until something goes wrong. I mean you commit. You tell yourself, I'm going to walk through this day with discipline in my thoughts. If you catch yourself complaining, stop. If you catch yourself drifting into negative thinking, bring yourself back. That kind of mental discipline, doing it day after day, builds emotional strength. And emotional strength is something no one can give you. You have to build it yourself. That's why the morning is so important. Because the morning is yours. Nobody else owns that time, unless you give it away. And if you don't have the strength to manage your own mind before the world gets to you, then the world will shape your attitude for you. And I promise you, the world's attitude is not what you want. The world's attitude is distracted, it's negative, it's stressed out, it's reactive. You want better? Then you've got to do better. And doing better starts by thinking better. It's not just about being positive, it's about being aware. Being aware of what kind of thoughts are running through your head when you wake up. Are you thinking like a person who's going somewhere in life? Or are you thinking like a person who's just trying to get by? Be honest. Don't sugarcoat it, because the truth will either set you free or keep you stuck. And once you become aware of what's going on up here, right in your mind, you can finally do something about it. Start simple. You wake up, you pause, and you ask yourself, what kind of person am I going to be today? Not what kind of day is it going to be, but what kind of person are you going to be in it? Strong, focused, calm, disciplined? You choose that. You don't wait for the world to decide it for you. You create your attitude, and the more you do it, the stronger it gets, like a muscle. Don't make this more complicated than it is. You don't need a perfect routine. You don't need an hour of silence or a perfect sunrise. What you need is intention. What you need is a decision made early and made clearly, because if you don't lead your mind will lead you. And where it leads you might not be where you want to go. That's why it's your job every single day to take the lead, not just once in a while, every day. Before the phone, before the emails, before the chaos, you lead yourself with your thoughts. And I'll tell you something else. This isn't just about success. This is about peace. This is about being a person who knows how to manage themselves, even when life doesn't cooperate. That's attitude. That's what separates people who fall apart from people who rise up. Because the ones who rise up made a decision to think better long before the pressure came. They were ready. They weren't lucky. They were prepared. So you decide. You decide that before your day begins, your mind belongs to you. You decide that your thoughts will not be hijacked by fear, by doubt, by stress, or by yesterday's baggage. You decide that you will meet this day with energy, with focus, with belief, not because the day is easy, but because you are ready. You do this every day, and I promise you something. You will feel different, you will act different, you will speak different, and your results will show it. People will notice. Not because you told them, but because your attitude speaks before you do. And once you master that, once you truly learn to think better before your day begins, you'll never want to live any other way. Because that's the start of everything. That's the foundation. That's how winners are made. And it all begins in your mind. Chapter 2. Stand your ground when everything feels against you, when life comes at you hard, when everything seems out of your control, when nothing feels right. This is the moment where your attitude becomes your foundation. This is where you either crumble or stand tall, and I'm here to tell you, you need to stand your ground. Not when it's easy, not when everything is going your way, but when everything feels against you. That's when it counts. That's when it matters. That's when your mindset shows whether it's been built or borrowed. And if you want a strong life, you've got to build it. Standing your ground doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It doesn't mean putting on a fake smile and ignoring your problems. No, It means you choose not to fold under pressure. It means you hold your values even when they're tested. It means you stay steady even when the ground under you starts shaking. And believe me, it will shake. There will be days when nothing lines up, days when people let you down, days when you question yourself. But those are the days where you find out who you are. You either react the way you always have, or you respond like someone who's grown. This is the moment where you develop real strength, not from outside motivation, but from inner commitment. You don't get stronger when things are smooth. You get stronger when you're under pressure and still choose to move forward. You get stronger when you feel like giving up, but don't. When people misunderstand you, judge you, criticize you, and you keep going anyway. That's not just strength, that's leadership, that's discipline, that's character. You don't have to be loud to stand your ground. You don't have to explain yourself to everyone. In fact, most of the time, you don't need to say anything. You show who you are by how you stay calm when chaos hits. You show who you are by how you hold yourself together when everything feels like it's falling apart. You don't fall back into fear. You don't let doubt drive your decisions. You don't lower your standard just because the pressure gets high. This is where most people break. They let hard times make them smaller. They let stress change how they speak. They let pain decide how they act. But not you. You've got to be the kind of person who holds your own. You've got to be the one who doesn't let the storm get inside. Life is going to test you. It's going to press you. It's going to ask, do you really believe what you say you believe? And if your answer is yes, then prove it by how you carry yourself when things go wrong. This doesn't happen by accident. It's a choice. You choose to stay firm. You choose to stop running from discomfort. You choose to stop blaming others. You stop waiting for someone to save you. You decide to be responsible for your attitude, your focus, your behavior. And yes, it's hard, but it's worth it. Because once you know how to stand your ground in hard times, life stops scaring you. You stop living in fear of failure. You stop fearing rejection. You stop doubting yourself every time something doesn't go as planned. Standing your ground also means knowing what you will and will not allow in your life. You draw the line. You don't lower your standards to fit someone else's comfort. You don't stay quiet when you know something isn't right. You don't shrink just to keep the peace. Real peace is built when you live aligned with your principles. You might lose people, you might feel alone, you might face resistance, but peace within yourself is more powerful than approval from others. The truth is, nobody else can stand your ground for you. People can encourage you, they can cheer you on, but when life hits, it's your decision that counts. You either step up, or you let the situation take control of you. You either show courage, or you wait for someone else to do it for you. You either stand firm, or you fall back into your old patterns. This is where growth happens. Growth is not pretty. Growth is uncomfortable. It stretches you. It forces you to see what you're really made of. You know what most people do when life gets tough? They escape. They distract themselves. They scroll. They complain. They blame. They hide. And none of that makes them stronger. None of that builds character. All it does is delay their growth. But the people who grow, the ones who rise, they face the pressure head on. They stand up straight and deal with it. Not because it's easy, but because they know what's on the other side is worth it. When you build this habit of standing strong under pressure, you become someone people respect. You walk into a room and people can feel your presence, not because you're loud, but because you're solid. You're not shaken by small things. You're not easily offended. You're not reactive. You're composed. You've built yourself that way, and people notice. You become a person others turn to, not because you have all the answers, but because you've proven that you won't fall apart when things go wrong. And here's something important. Standing your ground doesn't mean being stubborn. It means being strong with wisdom. It means being firm but flexible. It means knowing when to hold and when to adjust. There's strength in knowing what's worth standing for. Not every fight is yours. Not every opinion needs your energy. Choose your battles wisely. But once you've chosen, don't back down. Backing down from what you believe will cost you far more than any argument ever will. You've got to keep this mindset. Nobody gets to write your story except you. Circumstances might challenge you. People might doubt you. Failures might hurt you. But nothing can define you unless you allow it. So stand your ground. Remind yourself that you've been through storms before. You've survived tough times. You've come back from moments you thought would break you. And here you are, still standing. That's not weakness, that's strength. And it's yours. You've got a choice to make every time life gets hard. Will you let it shake you or shake you? Will you run or rise? Will you fight for who you were or will you fight for who you're becoming? You get to decide that every single day. And every time you choose to stand tall when everything feels against you, you become more of the person you were meant to be. It's not about being perfect. It's about being committed. It's about doing what you said you would do, even when it's uncomfortable. It's about believing in yourself, even when nobody else sees it yet. It's about not quitting when you're tired. It's about staying focused when you feel lost. It's about refusing to be defined by what's going wrong and choosing instead to define yourself by how you respond. You've got what it takes to stand your ground. You may not feel it every day. You may doubt it in your low moments, but it's in you. It's always been in you. All that's left is for you to act on it. Show yourself that you're not someone who backs down. Show yourself that you can be trusted when it matters. That's the foundation of a strong life. And it's built one decision at a time. Stand your ground today. And when tomorrow comes, stand again. Keep showing up with strength until strength becomes who you are. Chapter 3. Talk to yourself the way a winner does. Every single day, you're talking to yourself, in your mind, in quiet moments, in difficult situations. You might not say it out loud, but you hear it. And whether you realize it or not, what you say to yourself in those moments is shaping your confidence, your energy, your future. It's shaping how you walk into rooms, how you handle problems, how you deal with people, and how you feel about your own life. And here's the truth. If you want to start winning in life, you have to start talking to yourself like a winner. Not with fake hype, not with empty positivity, with real, honest, strong words that build you up instead of tearing you down. Most people talk to themselves in ways they would never talk to someone they care about. They say things like, "I'm not good enough, I always mess this up, why can't I do anything right?" And over time, that voice becomes their reality. They don't even question it. It becomes automatic. It becomes normal. But it's not normal. It's destructive. It breaks your spirit. And it kills your potential. A winner doesn't speak like that. A winner may get frustrated, but they don't attack themselves. A winner may struggle, but they don't label themselves as weak. They speak with clarity, with direction, with self-respect. Not because they think they're perfect, but because they understand that how they talk to themselves matters. They know that mindset isn't just about thoughts. It's about words. And the words you use on yourself become the instructions you follow. You can't build a strong life with a weak inner voice. You can't walk with confidence if the conversation in your head is full of doubt. You can't take risks, try again, stay focused, or grow if the voice inside you is tearing you down all the time. So you have to fix the way you speak to yourself, and it starts now, not next week, not when you feel more ready, right now. You can change the conversation. You can rewrite how you speak inside. Start by catching the moments where you put yourself down. Don't ignore them. Pay attention. When you hear yourself saying, "I can't handle this," stop and challenge it. Say, "I've been through worse. I can figure this out." When you hear, "I always mess this up," stop and replace it with, "I've made mistakes, but I've also learned. I'm improving." These small corrections may seem simple, but they're powerful, because every time you correct the inner critic, you train your mind to become your teammate, not your enemy. And I'll tell you something else. Winners don't wait for the world to speak life into them. They do it themselves. They wake up and speak strength. They speak belief. They speak discipline, not because life is easy, but because they refuse to be the voice that holds them back. You've got to stop being your biggest problem. You've got to stop feeding yourself messages that drain your energy before the day even begins. If you wouldn't let a stranger talk to you the way you talk to yourself, then it's time to raise your standard for your own voice. There's a big difference between being honest and being harsh. Being honest means you admit when you need to grow. Being harsh means you attack yourself every time you fall short. One helps you improve, the other keeps you stuck. And most people are stuck not because of their circumstances, but because of the way they talk to themselves about their circumstances. They've convinced themselves that they're not ready, that they're not capable, that they're too late. And none of that is true. It's just a pattern they never broke. So break it. Build a new one. Speak like someone who believes in their ability to figure it out. Speak like someone who knows their future depends on their mindset. Speak like someone who's been through pain and still has the power to rise. That's how winners speak. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They don't need the world to validate them. They speak life when things are tough. They speak focus when things are messy. They speak belief when everything feels uncertain. You need that voice in your life. A voice that knows your worth even when no one else sees it. A voice that pushes you when you want to quit. A voice that tells you to keep going when you're tired. That voice doesn't come from motivation. It comes from repetition. From choosing every single day to replace fear with focus, to replace shame with self-respect, to replace weakness with effort. Every time you speak power to yourself, even when you feel low, you build a stronger foundation. Some people wait for someone else to talk them into believing in themselves. But what if that person never comes? What if nobody shows up to remind you? Then you've got to be the one. You've got to be your own reminder, your own source of direction. That's not arrogance, that's maturity, that's growth. That's what it means to lead yourself. You want to improve your life? Then improve the way you talk when no one is listening. You want real change? Then change the tone you use with yourself when things get hard. Because the words you say to yourself when nobody else is around, that's what shapes your drive. That's what shapes your discipline. That's what shapes your ability to keep going long after the excitement fades. Think about how many times you've talked yourself out of something you wanted, How many times you've doubted your ability before even trying. How many times you've silenced your goals with your own excuses. Now ask yourself, what would change if you spoke like a winner every single day? Not just when you feel good, not just when things are going well, but especially when you feel uncertain, especially when you're under pressure. That's when the right words count most. Winners don't wait for motivation. They build a mindset that works even without it. They talk to themselves with focus, with direction, with accountability. They don't lie to themselves. They don't make excuses. But they don't destroy themselves either. They coach themselves through the low moments. They remind themselves why they started. They push forward, not because it's easy, but because they've decided who they want to become. And that's the power you have too. The moment you choose to take control of your inner voice is the moment your life begins to shift. Because attitude isn't just what people see. It's what you say to yourself when the world isn't watching. It's the words you choose when things go wrong. It's how you treat yourself when you make mistakes. Winners are not perfect. They don't have it all figured out, but they speak to themselves in a way that moves them forward, not backward. So today, ask yourself, what's the tone of your inner voice? Is it building you or breaking you? Is it helping you grow or keeping you stuck? You don't have to stay stuck in the voice you've had for years. You can change it. You can lead it. You can turn that voice into your greatest strength. And when you do, when you really commit to talking to yourself the way a winner does, you won't just think better. You'll act better. You'll move better. You'll become someone who no longer needs constant reminders or approval. You'll know where you're going. You'll believe in who you are. And that belief will carry you further than anything else ever could. That's the kind of voice that creates change. That's the kind of voice that builds unstoppable people. And it starts with you. Every word, every day. Speak like a winner, and then live like one.
Chapter 4. Drop the mindset that keeps you feeling small. You were not born to live small. You weren't made to stay quiet, hold back, or settle for less than what you're capable of. Somewhere along the way, you were taught to think small, act small, and expect less. You picked it up from people who stopped growing, from those who never tried, from voices that planted fear instead of belief. And now that mindset follows you. It shows up when you want to try something new. It whispers when you're about to step out. It tells you to wait. It tells you you're not ready. It reminds you of every flaw, every mistake, every reason to stay where you are. But here's the truth. It's a lie, and it's time to drop it. You don't need permission to think bigger. You don't need to wait until you're perfect to grow. You don't need everyone to approve of you before you start moving forward. The only thing you need is the decision to stop thinking like someone who's trapped. That old mindset, the one that says you're not smart enough, not talented enough, not strong enough, it has to go. Because it's holding you back from everything that's possible. You've probably carried that mindset for years, and that's okay, but now you're here. And now it's time to be honest with yourself. You cannot keep thinking the same thoughts and expect a new life. You can't keep saying, "This is just who I am," when deep down you know you want more. That small mindset is not your identity. It's a habit, and like any habit, it can be broken, but only if you decide to break it. Start by recognizing the signs, that hesitation when an opportunity comes up, that voice that says, "I'm not good at that," that feeling of backing out before you even begin, that urge to compare yourself to others and find reasons why you can't measure up. That's the small mindset talking. It disguises itself as humility. But it's not humility, it's fear. It's self-doubt pretending to protect you. But it's not protecting you, it's shrinking you. You've got to take your power back. And you don't do that by waiting. You do that by standing up and saying, I don't want to live like this anymore. Not in your thoughts, not in your behavior, not in your habits. You drop the mindset by making choices that challenge it. You apply for the job you think you're not ready for. You speak up when you usually stay silent. You raise your standard even when it feels uncomfortable. And every time you do, you prove to yourself that you're not small. You never were. Some people will try to keep you thinking small because it makes them comfortable. They'll tell you to be realistic. They'll say, don't get your hopes up. They'll remind you of the risks. Not because they want to hurt you, but because they never left their own limits behind. Don't blame them, but don't follow them either. You've got your own path, and it's time to walk it with your head up. You don't need to have all the answers right now. You just need to stop agreeing with the voice that keeps you playing it safe. Growth doesn't come from safety. It comes from discomfort, from pressure, from risk. The small mindset hates that. It wants comfort. It wants predictability. But comfort is the enemy of progress. And the longer you let comfort lead, the more you delay your own strength. So what do? You get uncomfortable. You stretch. You risk people not understanding you. You try even when you might fail. You show up without the guarantee of success. Because that's how the small mindset starts to break. Every time you go beyond what you've done before, you weaken its grip. Every time you speak up instead of staying quiet, you prove it wrong. Every time you act with courage, even if your voice shakes, you take your life back. This mindset shift doesn't happen overnight. But it starts with one decision to stop feeding the version of you that believes you're not enough. That version is not the real you. It's the version created by fear, by doubt, by the past. And the more you talk to it, listen to it, and agree with it, the more it stays alive. You've got to starve that voice. You've got to stop giving it attention. And you've got to start building a new internal story. That story begins with truth. The truth is, you're capable of far more than you've allowed yourself to believe. You've made it through things that could have broken you. You've survived moments that taught you lessons. You've handled pain, disappointment, and failure. And you're still here. That means you've got strength. You've got wisdom. You've got something in you that refuses to quit. Now imagine what could happen if you stopped holding that part of you back. This isn't about arrogance. This is about ownership. You own your strengths. You own your flaws. You own your growth. You don't pretend to be perfect, but you stop pretending you're powerless. That's what it means to drop the mindset that keeps you small. You start walking into rooms like you belong. You start speaking your goals out loud. You start carrying yourself with conviction. And you do it not because you've reached the finish line, but because you've decided you won't stay at the starting line any longer. There's no reward for thinking less of yourself. There's no prize for playing small. All that gets you is regret, wasted time, missed chances. You don't want that. You want to live with clarity, with direction, with strength. That begins when you stop giving your past the authority to decide your future. You are not what happened to you. You are not your lowest moment. You are not your weakest thought. You are the person who rises in spite of them. But that rise only happens when you drop the thinking that says you can't. That mindset doesn't belong to you anymore. You've outgrown it. You've seen too much. You've felt the weight of staying stuck. Now it's time to let it go. Replace it with new language, new thoughts, new expectations. Instead of saying I'm not ready, start saying I'll learn as I go. Instead of saying I'm not like them, start saying I'm becoming who I'm meant to be. Every phrase you change is another piece of that small mindset falling away. You are not here to live halfway. You are here to grow, to contribute, to build, to create. But you can't do that if you keep shrinking every time it's time to step up. The world doesn't need another voice playing it safe. It needs people who are willing to rise, people who stop hiding, people who own their value and live like it matters. You be that person, and you start by refusing to carry that old mindset into another day. From this point forward, choose to think different, choose to act different, choose to see yourself not through the lens of fear, but through the lens of potential. And don't wait for someone else to give you permission. Don't wait for the perfect moment. That mindset got you here, but it won't take you where you want to go. Drop it now, and start becoming who you were always meant to be. Chapter 5. Let go of choices that steal your peace daily. Every single day, you're making choices. Some are big, most are small, but every one of them is shaping your life. The food you eat, the people you spend time with, the way you talk to yourself, how long you scroll, how often you say yes when you really want to say no, it all adds up. And whether you know it or not, some of those choices are stealing your peace. Not just once in a while, but every day, slowly, quietly, until you wake up one day feeling tired, restless, overwhelmed, and disconnected, and you can't even explain why. But the truth is, it's not random, it's not just stress, it's the weight of the choices you keep making that go against what you truly want. You have to become honest with yourself about what you're allowing into your mind, your body, and your schedule. Because peace doesn't disappear on its own. It's taken by the things you tolerate, by the habits you refuse to break, by the environments you won't walk away from, and until you recognize what's causing the inner chaos, you'll keep repeating patterns that drain your energy and rob your focus. Peace doesn't just show up, it's protected. And protecting it means letting go of the choices that keep disturbing it. Start by asking yourself this: what are you doing every day that leaves you feeling off? What do you keep saying yes to that you know isn't right for you? What are you holding on to because it's familiar, not because it's healthy? Maybe it's staying too long in conversations that go nowhere. Maybe it's agreeing to things you have no time or passion for. Maybe it's waking up and reaching for your phone before you've even had a moment to breathe. These choices seem small, but they pile up, and each one chips away at your center until you're scattered, stressed, and reactive. You don't find peace by accident. You create it on purpose. You create it by choosing boundaries over approval, by choosing rest over hustle when your body is exhausted, by choosing silence over noise when your mind needs a break. Peace is not just a feeling, it's a result. And it comes from alignment, from living in a way that respects your values, your energy, and your time. And anything that goes against that, you need to let go of. Some choices are stealing your peace because they are born from fear. You say yes because you're afraid of being judged. You stay busy because you're afraid of being forgotten. You keep people in your life because you're afraid of being alone. But fear-based decisions always cost you something. They cost you clarity. They cost you calm. They cost you presence. You end up stuck in routines that look okay from the outside, but feel heavy on the inside. And that's no way to live. You've got to let go of the pressure to do it all. You've got to stop trying to meet everyone's expectations. You've got to stop ignoring that voice inside you. that's been telling you for a while now, something's not right. You don't have to carry every weight. You don't have to chase every opportunity. You don't have to explain your decisions to people who will never understand your journey. You just have to be real with yourself. And if something keeps costing you peace over and over, then it's not worth the price. Letting go doesn't always mean quitting your job or ending every relationship. Sometimes it's about letting go of how you show up. Let go of the need to be perfect. Let go of comparing yourself to people online. Let go of that voice in your head that says you're behind. Let go of the constant need to be busy just to feel valuable. Sometimes peace is waiting on the other side of less noise, less pressure, less pretending. But you won't get there if you keep choosing what drains you. You've got to take inventory. Look at your daily life and be ruthless about what you allow. Is the way you start your mornings helping you or hurting you? Are your routines building peace or feeding anxiety? Is your phone a tool or a trap? Are the people you're texting giving you energy or taking it? Don't just shrug it off. These things matter. Your environment matters. Your habits matter. Your choices matter. And every day is a new chance to make better ones. You don't have to change your whole life overnight, but you can start small. One better choice, one clearer no, one earlier bedtime, one less hour scrolling, one deeper breath before reacting. That's how peace starts. Not in huge moments, but in consistent ones. Little steps that add up. That clear space, that bring you back to yourself. Peace is not just found in quiet rooms or meditation apps. It's found in ownership, in knowing that your life feels better because of the decisions you made, not because circumstances were perfect, but because you took control. You stopped blaming. You stopped waiting. You stopped trying to do what everyone else does. And you started doing what actually works for you. There will always be distractions. There will always be noise. But you don't have to invite them in. You don't have to participate in drama. You don't have to say yes to every plan. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You can choose what stays and what goes. You can decide what gets your energy and what doesn't. That's not selfish. That's strength. That's leadership. That's how you build a life that doesn't just look good. It feels right. And here's the thing. Peace isn't boring. It's powerful. It gives you room to think, room to breathe, room to grow. When you're at peace, your mind is clear, your body is grounded, and your emotions don't run the show. You make better decisions. You speak with purpose. You live with direction. That's the reward for letting go of the choices that once distracted you from your own growth. You already know what you need to release. It's been nagging at you. That habit you keep justifying. That person you keep giving more to than you get back. That schedule you keep loading up until there's no room for rest. That lifestyle that looks successful but feels empty. You know, you felt the weight, and you don't need anyone to tell you it's time. You already feel it. So do something about it. Decide that your peace matters more than your fear, that your well-being matters more than someone else's opinion. You're allowed to reset. You're allowed to walk away. You're allowed to choose yourself without guilt. Because peace doesn't come to those who chase it. It comes to those who choose it, over and over, every day, through small actions that reflect deep values. So if you want to feel lighter, calmer, more focused, look at your choices. Look at the way you live. Look at what you're allowing. Then ask yourself, is this building me or draining me? Is this helping me grow or keeping me stuck? And if it's the latter, then it's time to let it go. Peace isn't something you find. It's something you create. And it's created one choice at a time. Starting now. Chapter 6. Respond with power instead of giving weak reactions. Every day, something is going to test you. You'll face situations that annoy you, people who misunderstand you, messages that frustrate you, and moments that try to knock you off track. That's life. It doesn't always go the way you expect, but how you respond to it. That's where your power is. Not in the situation, not in what they said, not in what went wrong. Your strength is built in the response you choose. And the truth is, most people don't choose their response. They react quickly, emotionally, without thinking. And that's what keeps them weak. Weak reactions come from habit. They come from emotion running the show. You snap, you shut down, you defend yourself, you blame, and before you know it, the moment controls you. That reaction becomes a pattern, and the pattern becomes your personality. You start telling yourself, that's just the way I am, but it's not. That's the way you've allowed yourself to become, and you can change it. You can train yourself to respond with power instead of falling into those automatic reactions that don't serve you. Responding with power doesn't mean being aggressive. It doesn't mean shouting to prove a point or trying to dominate people. It means staying calm when most would lose it. It means staying focused when the situation is trying to pull you off balance. It means staying in control of yourself when you can't control what's happening around you. That's real strength. And it's not something you're born with, it's something you develop. It starts by slowing down. Before you speak, before you decide, before you lash out or withdraw or let frustration guide your next move, pause. Give yourself a second to choose the direction you want to go. When you do that, you stop being led by the moment and you start leading the moment. That's the difference between power and weakness. Power is intentional, weakness is reactive. And don't think for a second that responding with power is passive. It takes discipline. It takes emotional maturity. It takes self-awareness. Anyone can throw a fit. Anyone can react with anger or sarcasm or silence. But it takes real growth to face pressure and still keep your mind steady. That's not weakness. That's mastery. Every time something annoys you, or upsets you, or challenges you, it's an opportunity. An opportunity to either build yourself or break your momentum. Most people let small things ruin their whole day. One rude comment, one inconvenience, one setback, and the rest of the day is gone. Wasted because they gave that moment more power than it deserved. But the strongest people, they keep their energy. They keep their focus, because they know their response is more important than the event itself. Start noticing how often you give away your power. Someone cuts you off in traffic. You feel your chest tighten, your hands grip the wheel, your words get sharp. That's a weak reaction. Not because the situation isn't annoying, but because you gave it authority over your mood. Now apply that to your work, your family, your goals. How often do you let someone else's words control how you feel? How often do you let one moment derail your plan? You're stronger than that. You just haven't trained yourself to respond differently. That training starts now. You begin by telling yourself the truth. Not everything deserves your energy. Not every comment needs your response. Not every problem requires you to lose your peace. You begin by choosing clarity over chaos, control over impulse, strength over reaction. And yes, at first it will feel uncomfortable, because you're used to reacting. That's what most of the world does. But that's exactly why you need to rise above it. When you respond with power, You hold your ground without forcing it. You set boundaries without creating drama. You handle conflict without needing to win every argument. And people notice. They may not say it, but they feel it. You carry something different. You don't move from pressure. You don't fall apart under stress. That kind of energy earns respect, not just from others but from yourself. Because you start proving to yourself that you are not at the mercy of every emotion that shows up. Weak reactions feel good for a moment, but they cost you in the long run. They burn bridges. They create regret. They damage trust. Power, on the other hand, builds. It builds patience. It builds character. It builds relationships. It builds a life that is grounded and steady. Not perfect, but intentional. So what does this look like in real life? It means you stop firing off that angry message and instead take a moment to breathe. It means you don't let one bad meeting ruin your whole mindset. It means you stop defending every little thing and start listening more. It means you pick your battles. And when you do speak, you speak with calm certainty, not because you're afraid, but because you're centered. Some people think power is about showing strength all the time, but real power shows up in the way you handle the storm without becoming the storm. It's in how you walk away from the argument without losing your integrity. It's in how you stay on course when everything around you tries to pull you off. That's not easy, but it's possible, and it's a choice you can make every day. If you want to build this kind of strength, start with the next situation that challenges you. Don't try to be perfect. Just catch yourself. Notice your initial reaction, then choose a better one, a slower one, a wiser one. Do it again tomorrow, and again the day after that. And over time you'll feel something shift. You won't feel controlled by everything anymore. You'll feel steady. And that feeling of knowing you have control over yourself in any situation is powerful. This isn't about never feeling emotion. It's about not being ruled by it. Feel the frustration. Feel the disappointment, but don't act from it. Wait until the emotion passes, then decide how you want to respond. This takes effort, but it's worth every ounce of that effort. Because the quality of your life depends on how you handle hard moments. That's where your character is built. That's where your leadership is formed. And here's what happens when you get good at this. You stop fearing hard days. You stop avoiding challenges. You start facing life head-on. Because you know that no matter what comes, you can handle it. You can stay calm. You can think clearly. You can respond with purpose. That's not something most people can do, but it's something you can learn. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Start today. Start now. Decide that you won't be pulled into every reaction. Decide that your energy is too valuable to waste on things that don't matter. Decide that you are going to be a person of strength, not just in your words but in your actions. You're not here to live reactive. You're here to live with power. Make your response your greatest strength. Let that be the proof of your growth. Chapter 7. Own your thoughts before they take over you. Your thoughts are shaping your entire life. Every decision you make, every emotion you feel, every action you take, all of it begins in the mind. If you don't take control of your thinking will take control of you. And that's where most people lose their power. They believe every thought they have. They let their mind run wherever it wants. They never stop to ask, is this helping me or hurting me? They just go along with whatever their mind tells them, without realizing that not every thought is true, not every thought is useful, and not every thought deserves your attention. If you don't own your thoughts, they'll take over your life, little by little, until your confidence, your peace, and your direction all slip away. The mind is powerful, but it's not always accurate. It's full of patterns. It remembers pain. It repeats doubt. It brings up old stories. If you're not careful, you'll live out of outdated thinking, reacting to the present with a mindset built from your past. That's why you must become aware. You've got to step back and observe what's going on inside your head. What kind of thoughts are you having when you wake up? What are you saying to yourself when you fail? How do you think when things go quiet and no one else is around? That's where your real mindset lives. Not in the things you post online, not in how you look on the outside, but in the private conversations you're having with yourself every day. Owning your thoughts starts with honesty. You've got to admit what's been running through your mind. Not judge it, but notice it. If you're constantly thinking, "I'm not good enough. This is never going to work. They're better than me," then those thoughts are going to shape how you speak, how you walk, how you try, and how you show up. And even if you want something better, your thoughts will sabotage you before you even begin. That's why awareness is so important. You cannot change what you refuse to notice. And once you notice it, don't just hope it gets better. Replace it. Take ownership. You've got to build a mental filter. Not every thought gets to stay. Some thoughts are lies. Some are based on fear. Some are just habits from the environment you grew up in. And if you don't challenge those thoughts, they'll become beliefs. And beliefs shape everything. That's why some people never grow. They don't have the ability to think differently. They're still living under the same thinking they picked up years ago, and it's holding them back from becoming who they were meant to be. Taking ownership means you lead your mind instead of letting it lead you. When your thoughts start going in the wrong direction, you don't just go along for the ride. You stop. You redirect. You remind yourself of the truth. And you keep doing it until it becomes your new normal. That takes effort. It takes repetition. But it's how you build a strong mindset that doesn't fall apart every time life gets hard. You also need to understand that owning your thoughts doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. It means guiding them. Let yourself feel, but don't let your feelings become facts. You might feel like quitting, but that doesn't mean you should. You might feel like you're not making progress, but that doesn't mean you're not. You might feel like you're not ready, but that doesn't mean you can't begin. Emotions are real, but they're not always right. If you follow them blindly, they will mislead you. But if you learn to acknowledge them without being controlled by them, you gain emotional strength. And with that strength, you stay calm in storms, focused under pressure, and disciplined when things don't go your way. The difference between people who move forward and people who stay stuck is how they manage their inner world. Two people can face the same setback, but one will grow and the other will shrink. It's not because one had it easier, it's because one took charge of their thoughts. They didn't feed the voice of fear. They didn't believe the lie that said it's over. They stayed grounded. They stayed focused. And they kept moving, even when their thoughts were trying to stop them. So how do you start owning your thoughts? First, create space to think clearly. Spend time alone without distraction. That's where awareness begins. Then when you catch a thought that pulls you down, question it. Ask yourself, where is this coming from? Is it based on truth or emotion? Does it serve the person I'm becoming? Don't accept every thought as fact. Break the habit of being passive with your mind. Next, feed your mind with better input. What you consume becomes what you think. The books you read, the voices you listen to, the people you surround yourself with. They're all programming your thoughts whether you realize it or not. If your environment is negative, your thoughts will reflect that. If your conversations are full of doubt and drama, your inner dialogue will mirror it. So be intentional about what you allow in. Choose input that lifts you, that challenges you, that helps you grow. And finally, speak what you want your mind to believe. Not fake words, not empty affirmations, but real language that aligns with your goals. Instead of saying, "I'm always stuck," say, "I'm learning how to move forward." Instead of thinking, "I never get it right," say, "I'm getting better every time." These small shifts create mental patterns that support your growth instead of blocking it. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is awareness and improvement. Your mind is your most valuable asset. You can build all the skills, have all the talent, make all the plans, but if your mind is against you, none of it will matter. You'll self-sabotage. You'll delay progress. You'll talk yourself out of the things you want most. But if your mind is strong, if your thinking is clear, if your inner voice supports you, you become unstoppable. Not because life gets easier, but because you stop making it harder by thinking in circles. You don't need a perfect mind. You just need to take responsibility for what's happening inside of it. Start leading it with intention. Speak with clarity. Think with purpose. And when those old thoughts try to come back, and they will, don't fight them with fear. Replace them with direction. Remind yourself who you're becoming. Guide your thoughts like someone who's building a future, not someone who's stuck in the past. You have more control than you think. And the more you practice owning your thoughts, the stronger your life becomes. Not because the outside changes, but because you've mastered the inside. And once you do that, there's no limit to where you can go. Own your mind. Own your life. That's how lasting transformation begins. Chapter 8. Start showing up, even when you feel off. Some days you're just not going to feel right. You wake up with a heavy mind, or no energy, or something weighing on you that you can't fully explain. Your mood is off. Your focus isn't there. The drive you had yesterday seems gone. And everything in you says, skip it today. Just stay low. Wait until you feel better. That's the moment that separates people who make progress from people who keep restarting their lives every few weeks. The ability to show up when you feel off is one of the strongest skills you can ever build. Most people only move when they feel motivated. They wait for inspiration. They wait for clarity. They wait for the perfect mindset. And while they wait, they get more behind. They lose momentum. They start over again and again. But the ones who learn to keep showing up regardless of how they feel, those are the ones who build something real. Not because every day is easy, but because they keep going through the days that aren't. Showing up doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It doesn't mean pushing your emotions to the side and acting fake. It means staying consistent with what matters, even if you're not at 100%. It means you still do the work. You still speak with intention. You still take care of what needs to be done. Even if you do it slower. Even if it's not perfect. Even if your heart isn't fully in it that day. You move. You don't disappear on yourself. The most dangerous pattern is disappearing every time something feels off. Because one missed day becomes 2, then a week, then a month. And before you know it, you're trying to find your rhythm again from scratch. Progress comes from rhythm, and rhythm comes from showing up, even if the session isn't great, even if the energy is low, even if it doesn't feel like it's working. The power is in the act of staying present, staying in motion, and staying engaged with the life you're building. Your future doesn't care how you feel today. It's being shaped by what you do today. If you keep letting emotions lead your actions, you'll live in a loop, high when things are smooth, low when anything goes wrong. That's a roller coaster. You want stability. You want growth. Then you've got to show up, not just when you're inspired, but when you're off balance, when you're unsure, when you feel heavy. You learn to bring discipline into the days that feel off. That's what separates the strong from the average. There's a mindset that says, if I'm not feeling it, I'll just wait until I do. That mindset is the reason many people never finish what they start. Waiting to feel ready is just another form of procrastination. It sounds reasonable, but it's actually a trap. Because the longer you wait, the weaker your habit becomes, and the weaker your habit becomes, the harder it is to trust yourself. And if you don't trust yourself, it's hard to build anything real. You want to change your life. Get good at doing things even when they don't feel easy. Show up to the gym when your body's tired. Sit with your goals when your mind is scattered. Keep your word to yourself when the mood is off. That's how you start proving that you're not controlled by how you feel. You're led by what you've committed to. And every time you follow through on that commitment, your confidence grows. You begin to build quiet power, the kind that doesn't depend on outside circumstances. On those off days, don't focus on perfection. Focus on consistency. Show up in a way that keeps you connected. Maybe it's not the full routine. Maybe it's not a peak performance day. That's okay. But you still show up in some way. You still step in. Because when you do, you're telling yourself, I'm serious about this. You're building proof. And proof is more powerful than motivation. Proof creates trust. And trust creates resilience. Think about it. When have you made the most progress in your life? It wasn't during the perfect weeks. It was when you kept going through the hard weeks. It was when you got up even though your head was heavy. It was when you did the work despite feeling behind. Those moments matter. They build something in you that can't be taught in books or found in quick success. They build internal strength that lasts. There's always a reason to check out. Always a reason to take a break. Always a reason to tell yourself it's not the right time. But if you live by those reasons, your life will always be controlled by your emotional state. And emotional states change all the time. You've got to build something stronger than that. A personal standard that says, how I feel does not decide what I do. Some people think they need to be tough all the time. That's not what this is about. It's about showing up with honesty. It's about being real with how you feel, but not letting those feelings make your decisions. You can say, I'm tired today, but I'm going to give what I can. That's power. You can say, I'm not at my best, but I'm not going to hide. That's leadership. You don't need to feel perfect to keep going. You just need to be willing. You're going to have days when your motivation disappears. Days when you're doubting yourself. Days when it all feels like too much. That's part of the journey. But those days don't have to ruin your progress. They don't have to undo your momentum. What matters most is not what kind of day it is, it's what kind of decision you make. Every time you choose to show up, despite feeling off, you take back control. You stop living by moods. You start living by choice. And here's the truth, most of your growth will come from how you show up during those difficult moments. Anyone can perform when they're feeling strong. But the people who build something meaningful, something real, they're the ones who show up in the silence, in the fog, in the struggle. They push through, not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. Don't wait to feel perfect. Don't wait to be in the mood. Don't wait until life feels smooth again. Show up today, in whatever way you can, even if it's slower, even if it's quieter, even if no one sees it. Show up, because that small act repeated over time builds a version of you that doesn't crumble under pressure. That doesn't stop at discomfort. That doesn't make excuses. That's how strong lives are built. One choice, one action, one honest showing up at a time. Keep showing up. That's how you win. Chapter 9. Break the habit of doubting your own worth. You were not meant to live your life questioning who you are. You were not put here to constantly shrink yourself, second-guess every decision, or wonder if you matter. Yet for many people, doubting their own worth has become a daily routine. It's so common they don't even realize they're doing it. It shows up in the way they talk about themselves, in how they walk into a room, in the way they hold back ideas, opportunities, and even relationships. It becomes a silent habit, built over time by fear, by comparison, by old wounds, and repeated messages that were never true to begin with. But just because it became a habit, doesn't mean it has to stay one. You have to understand that your worth is not something you earn. It's not something you prove. It's not based on titles, numbers, or applause. It's something you own, something you protect. And the longer you doubt it, the longer you delay the kind of life you could be building. Doubt is not a sign of humility. Doubt is not a sign of being cautious. Doubt is a weight. It holds back your voice. It holds back your ideas. It keeps you stuck in cycles where you keep doing less than what you're capable of, just to avoid being seen, judged, or misunderstood. Breaking that habit starts with recognition. If you've been carrying self-doubt for years, it's not going to vanish overnight. But the first step is to call it out. Catch it. When you hear yourself thinking, "I'm not good enough, I'll never be like them, or maybe I shouldn't even try." Pause. Don't agree with those thoughts. Interrupt them, not with fake positivity, but with truth. Remind yourself of what you've already come through. Remind yourself of the things you've survived, the challenges you've met, the growth you've earned. That's not small. That's not meaningless. And it didn't happen by accident. You didn't make it this far by being weak. You didn't grow through difficulty just to turn around and question your value. The problem is, many people only measure their worth by what's happening right now. If things are going well, they feel good. If things are messy, they start doubting themselves again. That's not a stable foundation. Your worth cannot be tied to performance. It cannot depend on who approves or who doesn't. Because as long as it's tied to something outside you, you'll always be at the mercy of other people's opinions and circumstances you can't control. The truth is, you've likely been doubting yourself for so long that you don't know what it feels like to fully stand behind your own name. To speak without shrinking, to act without hesitation, to look in the mirror and feel grounded, not because you're perfect, but because you've finally decided you're enough. That decision isn't arrogance. It's not ego. It's self-respect. And you deserve that. You deserve to live like someone who believes they belong here. Start by changing the conversations you have with yourself. Self-doubt lives in repetition, in the background noise of your mind, where you constantly downplay your strengths and highlight your flaws. It's not just one big thought. It's the quiet pattern of always assuming you're not ready, always expecting to fall short, always holding yourself to a standard that's impossible to reach. Break that pattern, not once, not for a day, but daily. You build belief through new habits. One small step at a time. Start with how you speak about yourself, even when no one is listening. Stop using language that tears you down. Words matter. If you keep calling yourself just average, not that smart or not like them, you're reinforcing a story that keeps you playing small. Speak about yourself with the same strength you use to speak up for others. Give yourself the same grace you give to people you love. Respect your own path as much as you admire someone else's. That's how you shift from doubt to strength. Also, stop feeding comparison. Every time you scroll and compare your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel, you lose perspective. You forget that your journey has its own timing, its own lessons, its own rhythm. The habit of doubting your worth is fueled by trying to live like someone you're not. But you're not here to be someone else. You're here to become your strongest version. And that means you stay in your lane, you build your pace, and you don't stop believing in your ability just because someone else looks further ahead. Another step in breaking this habit is challenging your need for outside validation. When your worth depends on being liked, noticed, or praised, it becomes fragile. You chase approval, and when you don't get it, your confidence crashes. That's not sustainable. You have to be the one who approves of your effort. You have to be proud of how you show up, even if no one claps. You have to trust your own standard more than someone else's reaction. That's when you become grounded. That's when you start living with strength, even in silence. You also need to look at where your doubt began. A lot of people carry voices from their past. Maybe someone told you that you weren't enough. Maybe you failed early and never recovered. Maybe you were criticized at a young age and started believing you had to be perfect to be accepted. But here's the truth. You're not that person anymore. You're not that version of you, and you're not defined by who doubted you. At some point, you have to stop repeating their voice and start using your own. Every time you act in spite of doubt, you weaken it. Every time you try again when it's easier to give up, you build a new pattern. Every time you speak with honesty, even when it's uncomfortable, you prove to yourself that you can handle discomfort. That's what breaks the habit. Not one big moment, but many small ones, consistent, intentional decisions to trust your own voice. You also have to surround yourself with the right environment. Doubt grows in places where you're not seen, where you're not supported, where you're always defending your growth. But confidence grows in spaces where you're challenged and encouraged to rise. You don't need people who flatter you. You need people who remind you who you are when you forget, who speak truth into you, not because you're weak, but because they want to see you strong. And lastly, accept that self-belief is not something you find once and keep forever. It's something you renew. Life will test it, failures will shake it, pressure will question it. But that doesn't mean you start over. It means you return to your foundation. You remind yourself daily that your worth is not up for debate. It's not a feeling. It's not up to someone else. It's a decision you make and a mindset you build. You don't have to live another day doubting who you are. You don't have to stay stuck in a pattern of playing small. You can choose today to speak better to yourself, to walk with more certainty, to stop apologizing for existing. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to stop attacking yourself every time something doesn't go perfectly. Give yourself permission to grow without tearing yourself down in the process. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're not less than. You are becoming. And becoming takes time, effort, patience, and belief. But it begins the moment you stop letting doubt lead the way. Break the habit. You're ready. And more than that, you're worth it. Chapter 10. Choose growth today and stop waiting for motivation. Growth is not something you wait for. It's not something that shows up when the timing is perfect or when you suddenly feel ready. Growth is something you choose. You choose it in small decisions. You choose it when you don't feel like it. You choose it when everything inside you wants to stay still, and most people spend their lives waiting to feel more motivated, waiting for a sign, waiting for the right moment, waiting until they're in a better mood. But the truth is, waiting doesn't move you forward. Waiting keeps you where you are, and eventually waiting becomes the reason you never change. You've got to stop depending on motivation to carry your life. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. One day you feel like doing everything. The next you don't even want to get out of bed. If you let those feelings decide your actions, you'll be stuck in cycles forever. Start, stop, restart, give up, regret, try again. That's the pattern people get trapped in when they rely on being inspired to take action. Growth doesn't work that way. Growth belongs to people who show up without the feeling, who take the next step, not because they're excited, but because they've decided. The moment you stop waiting and start choosing is the moment your life begins to change. You take ownership. You stop blaming your lack of motivation. You stop giving your feelings so much power. You stop saying things like, "I'll start tomorrow," or "I'm not in the mood today." You stop making excuses and you start making progress. Because here's the truth, you don't need motivation to grow. You need commitment. You need consistency. You need the discipline to follow through on what matters, even on the days it feels uncomfortable. Start looking at growth like a daily decision, not a lucky event. Growth doesn't ask you how you feel. It asks you what you're willing to do. Are you willing to stay focused when your mind is tired? Are you willing to push through when you're not getting quick results? Are you willing to keep moving when nobody's watching, clapping, or checking in? That's the real question. That's what builds strength. That's what shapes a future worth fighting for. And don't fall for the idea that you need to be all in all the time. You don't need to do everything perfectly. You don't need to have the highest energy every day. But you do need to show up. You need to honor your habits. You need to keep promises to yourself. One step, then another. Some days will feel powerful. Others will feel like a grind. But both days matter. Both days count. Because what you're doing, whether big or small, is proving that you're not just interested in growth, you've chosen it. Think about what it means to choose growth today. It means you stop ignoring what you know you need to do. It means you start doing the work instead of just thinking about it. It means you take control of your focus, your time and your energy instead of letting it drift. No more saying later. No more putting things off until the conditions feel right. Right now is enough. Who you are today is enough to take the first action. The people who make progress don't have better feelings, they have stronger decisions. When you choose growth, you stop needing everything to feel good. You stop chasing comfort. You learn to be uncomfortable on purpose. You get used to doing the things you used to avoid. You start facing what you've been running from. You write even when you feel blocked. You train even when you're tired. You study even when you're distracted. You keep moving, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. And here's what happens when you do this consistently. You build a new kind of confidence, not the loud kind that comes from external validation. The quiet kind that comes from trusting yourself, from knowing that no matter how you feel, you'll still show up, from knowing that you've trained your mind to move forward even when the excitement fades. That's the kind of strength that carries you through setbacks, through failures, through slow seasons. That's the strength that separates people who grow from people who stay stuck. You have to stop giving your emotions control over your future. Emotions are temporary. Growth is long-term. You're going to feel like quitting sometimes. You're going to feel like skipping the hard things. But that's when it matters most. That's when your decision makes the difference. When everything in you says stop, but you choose to continue, that's where transformation begins. You can't build anything strong if your actions are always based on moods. Moods change. Life is unpredictable. But when your actions are built on values, on standards, on personal responsibility, now you've got something solid. Now you've got a mindset that doesn't bend every time the wind shifts. Now you've got the ability to build a life that reflects your effort, not just your emotions. Every day you wake up, you're faced with the same choice. Drift or grow. Wait or move. Repeat the same patterns or build something new. And that choice, repeated daily, will define your life. Not your background, not your talent, not your luck, just your choice. So don't wait another day to feel ready. Choose growth now, in the middle of doubt, in the middle of fatigue, in the middle of resistance. That's when the choice matters most. That's when it shapes who you become. There's nothing wrong with feeling unmotivated. That's part of the human experience. What matters is how you respond to that lack of motivation. Do you stop, or do you remind yourself of your reasons? Do you give up, or do you take a small step anyway? Every time you push through that feeling, even just a little, you're proving something powerful. You don't need to be perfect to grow. You just need to be present. You don't rise to the level of your motivation. You rise to the level of your commitment. And commitment doesn't ask for perfect timing. It asks for courage. It asks for responsibility. It asks for real effort, not just excitement. So choose growth today, even if you feel off, even if you don't see the results yet. Choose it because you said you would. Choose it because your future depends on it. Growth isn't something you wait for. It's something you act on. And the more you act on it, the more you realize you didn't need motivation. You needed movement. And once you get moving, motivation often shows up. But even if it doesn't, you keep going. Because you're not led by how you feel. You're led by who you've decided to become. That's the difference. That's how real progress begins. That's how a strong life is built. And it begins with one clear decision. Choose growth now. Not later. Now.